come to our next speaker, who I was talking with a little bit before, and I said to him, I like the title of his, what he'd put. He's put, answers questions which were never asked. This sounds a little bit like my wife, actually. She's always asking me questions which I can never answer. But anyway, I'd like to hand over now to Hans-Peter Visser, who will be talking exactly on this topic. Thank you very much. I'll leave you to it.
Yeah, thank
Unless, do you want this one? No.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Either or.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Okay, Pavel, first of all, thank you very much. Yeah, I always have the intention to sing, but it's so remind me if I start doing that. Thank you very much for having me here to present here. I realized in the preparation that it was nearly 2.5 years ago that I spoke in public. So hopefully I did not lost it, but anyway, keep on poking me. My goal today here is to learn from all you guys and girls, women and male and female, what your challenges are in especially LNG, but also liquefied hydrogen. I want to throw some stones in the water to challenge you a little bit, to tell about myself, my company, and how we came into this industry of LNG. I want to challenge legislation also a little bit, because we are manufacturer of LNG systems, measurement systems, and oftenly we get specifications and we get norms throwing over the fence, and we have to comply with it. And sometimes I have the idea people are clueless what they are asking for, and that is also exposed to bio-LNG, and I think it is far over the top. And in my presentation, I will explain why. But first of all, I'd like to tell you a little bit about myself. My passion is design and create. I want to build. And a funny anecdote: Pavel and I had each other on the phone, and he had only half an hour time for me. And after 1.5 hours, I have to say, well, now I have a meeting, I have to quit. I like to build boats as a hobby, but all my designs, I like to do it according to the KISS principle, keep it simple. And just in my designs, I like Mother Nature. Why? For 2 big reasons. It is always working, and it is free of charge. And as a Dutchman, that's very important for us. I also like to inspire and share with people, and especially inspire younger people, because I'm thinking we are entering the next crisis already, which is skilled employees. There is a shortage of engineers, and privately and in my company, I try to enthusiase young people for technique, to play with their hands and to do something. So that is in who I am, and finally I try to have some fun in life, and also with the youngsters. They really bring enthusiasm to me, and to see how they explore. They're making the same mistakes. They don't want to listen to me, because I did the same with my parents. So they have to fall, and it's repeating. So take life a little bit easy. There are moments I'm very seriously, and then I like to present myself like this. I won't go over this. There is only one gift I want to share with you. Sometimes I have a big mouth at the right moment. And that was resulting to one of the guys who said, well, it's nice that you have all these complaints about the current standards, but why don't you join us for rewriting new standards? So I did. And I think when you have comments on something, you must also contribute to write something new. So I did. And I would like to share that as well. A little bit about ASAP. ASAP stands for Analytical Solutions and Products. What we deliver is measurements. So we measure composition. We make measurement systems for composition and trace analysis. We are based in Amsterdam, and we have a service hub in Houston. And funny anecdote, maybe for tonight, another example of having a big mouth at the right moment is how we start ASAP and how we dragged into the LNG industry. I'm the founder of ASAP, or one of the founders, starting in 2000, March 2000. And we're starting from the Shell R&D Center in Amsterdam. And literally at the coffee machine, I was dragged into the LNG industry because one of the guys said in 2007, hey, you are in the analytics, eh? Yeah. We need a speaker in Bintulu for an LNG workshop. Are you willing? I thought, is this a question or what? Of course I'm coming. So that was my introduction into LNG. And during the evening, during dinner, I learned all the challenges they have with measuring LNG, and especially the energy content and how much they were losing. I couldn't eat anymore. Hearing the amount of money they were losing, it was between 50 and 100,000 US dollars per shipment. So at that time I thought, well, this is something we have to work with. Okay, fast forward. 2013, I bought out my former companion. The first thing I did was hire a general manager. It's a profession. And happily, my best friend, Michael van der Zee, said, yes, I want to do that. And it gives me the opportunity to focus on the things I like to do. It's just technology and development and create and design. So in a management team, we decided, okay, we will focus on being the value provider, the first value provider, number one value provider for analytical solutions and focus on LNG. And that's where we're heading to. What do we manufacture? All kinds of systems, but the focus will be on LNG and the software. So you have to understand where we're coming from. We're coming from the Shells, from the Rasgas, from the Totals, the large-scale LNG facilities. And here are some examples. Later on, we were dragged into the FRSU. So I realized there is a spelling error. FRSU stands for Floating Storage and Regasification Unit, and it's a challenge on itself. So you're pumping LNG from one vessel to the other. The big challenge over there is the low pressure. So LNG has a pressure there of half a bar. So the LNG is nearly boiling already. And that's what we try to avoid. Excuse me. This is some examples where we're talking about is the pointer. These are our typical LNG measurement systems. This is a vaporizer and then flow metering skid software. To give you an idea, fasten your seatbelts, please. The cost of such a system will vary from 300,000 to 1.2 million euro to set the boundaries. And we're talking here about bio-LNG, biomethane. I think your whole installation is that amount of money, or getting in the neighborhood. So that is our reference where we're starting from. Coming back a little bit technical because it's important to understand. The thing with measurement is you have to convert from a cryogenic liquid to a gas in order to measure it, typically with a gas chromatograph. And what happened, you get erratic readings if you don't do it properly. So typically when you come to an installation and you see ice formation, you know already you have a thermal leak. You might think, oh, okay, a big deal. But if you have a thermal leak, you have partial evaporation and pre-evaporation. And it has a tremendously input on your bill, which I will tell you. So typically, composition is measured with a gas chromatograph or a GC. They take a snapshot in time. 3 minutes later, you have a result. And that is continuously ongoing. So if you have erratic reading or not a non-proper vaporization, you get erratic reading and erratic reporting. So enough about LNG. I'm going to show you LNG. I think we are the only company worldwide who has their own LNG testing facility for analytical equipment. And actually we are building now the third generation. And at a certain moment we had a big challenge on the production platform. And we say, you know what, we drill a hole in our vaporizer and we stick in a cryogenic camera. And I need your help for pressing the animation, please. Because I don't think it... Yes. This is boiling LNG, how it looks like in a vaporizer. And the funny thing is, here you see the erratic character of LNG. It is boiling very actively, then it is quiet. So you never know what is going on. So assuming that you now want to take a stable measurement and determine what the energy content is, it is a mission impossible. So coming back to the financial impact of it, and now everybody becomes interesting. If you talk about moving people, hey, it's the wallet. There you're moving people and make them interesting in changes, as long as it hurt. I'm over-exaggerate a little bit, but to give you an idea, if you take an average LNG carrier of 170,000 cubic meter, earlier this year on the Asian spot market, the price was nearly $60 per MMBTU. If you do the math, that carrier is holding a theoretically value of cargo of 255 million US dollars. I don't know how much you make per year, but for me it's a shitload of money. If you do the same calculation, but then with the error, if you take an error of, let's say, 0.2 megajoule, and you do the same equation, you come to a value of 0.1 million error. Okay, I'm exaggerated, 500,000. This is per shipment. I'm coming on plants where they have 5 shipments per week. So it's a tremendous amount of money of not measuring as close as possible to the truth, because one of them is losing, one of them is gaining. And since we are not in the gambling industry, it's our task as a manufacturer to measure as close as possible to the truth. But this will get their attention. We solved that. And it's always good when somebody else is talking about you and saying what you solve for them. So here is an American manufacturer. They say, well, at least 6 million per year, which we save. Here on an average, tens of millions. So there is a lot of money involved in proper measurement. And that's actually my message to all of you today, but also where I want to learn, where we have to do it better. So I need your assistance again, I think. No, it's working. So we solved it by active subcooling. So as a technician, I really get excited about this because you're looking again inside the vaporizer, but you don't see any boiling, while we have the same effects that from the environment we have thermal leak. We compensate for it, and that is the reason that we have those outstanding results. It is Mother Nature again is helping us here. Once again, we're coming back to the KISS principle. We keep everything simple. We just make a device. We bolt it to the transfer line, and here we go, up for the measurement. So, how's it done in the let's say, the big world out there? How measurements are obtained, and how the norms are kicked in? These are the typical norms which are valid: the ISO and the GIGNOL. So typically, if you want to fill or empty, unload a carrier, the hoses are connected. You start to have a cool down, and then once you have a stable flow, then you have to measure. And you have to measure over a period of time, and that period of time it can vary between 15 and the longest I had is 52 hours. Over that time, you have to sample and to measure to determine the overall amount of energy, which is here in the equation. So after this time, when you're finished, you have here a sampler, and we have 3 compositive samplers. They are proportionally filled over time with the sample from the LNG. This cylinder is taken to an independent lab, and the SDS or another. They will run the analysis, look for the impurities. Once they are done, they create a certificate of quality, and then they make the bill of lading. Based on the bill of lading, payment will be done, and based on that is the 255 million euros or US dollars, whatever currency. So that is how it's done. Okay, now the big challenge. you know, if in one batch we can save 0.1 million and I have an investment of 1 million for an installation, it is one cargo where we have a return on investment. So typically it's a no-brainer. Sometimes I say, well, we're selling it for a too low price, but anyway, that's another discussion. But if we want to do the same with bioenergy, we have a major challenge here as well, because the volumes are completely different. I'm going for 170 till a truckload is 44 cubic meter, and even in your case, it's much lower as well. But according to legislation and according to standards and according to projects, I have to deal with an ISO 8943, which says you have to have a sampler, which is completely ridiculous. I understand where this is coming from, but we have to do it differently, and I like the challenge to do it differently. So we have to think out of the box, but not throwing away everything. We have to learn from the lessons learned we have, the good things and the bad things, and where can we improve. There are a lot of standards coming into place, and in my personal opinion, is more a ballast than a help. So we have to change there. Based on all the knowledge and experience we have developed what we call the microphaser, especially for the small-scale LNG facilities. Really keep it simple. For the good observer, you see ice formation is a thermal leak. Here it's the opposite, because our active subcooling is working properly. But anyway, there's a sidestep for the real engineers for us. Also, what we have to learn to create certainty is look at all the things what can go wrong and how we can participate on that. So with our software, what we incorporate is we can determine if we are measuring in the liquid phase or in the binary phase or in the gas phase. And it's important because payment is based on the energy composition, and we try to avoid the erratic reading. So, in the standard commission where I was participating, we try to do it differently. We try to say, okay, it's good if you have an installation, and it is for everybody, not only for me, but for everybody. If you have an installation, you have to prove that it is working properly. And no matter how you do it, but you have to prove it. Actually, I would like to go a couple of steps further, because I think it is too hazy. I want to give it numbers. I say, well, this is the minimum requirement you could have. This is the minimum performance. And then it's always good to look at figures, and you can compare them with each other, and you take away the stomach feeling. I have the feeling that. I don't care about your feeling at this moment. I care about figures, because there is a lot of money involved. So, again, it's all about testing, and it's all about proving. But it is nice when we have a testing facility in Amsterdam, but if you have a plant in Poland, or you have a plant in Qatar, or down under in Australia, all the circumstances are different. So it is good to have a first step, to have a test, but it's even better to test continuously and online. And that is something what we have developed and what we can expose, not only for the large scale, but also for the small scale. And I think that is where the small-scale industry can gain from it. All the experience and the lessons learned is we have an online monitoring system where we look not only at the value, but we also look automatically at the uncertainty. And that's the only thing what counts. It's an average value of the heating value, which we have to report. And we have to report what is the uncertainty, or what is the closeness to the truth, in other words. So once you have that, you can automatically generate your certificate of analysis. And if you have the mass or the volume, you can have the amount of energy which you are exposing to your buyer, or if you are the seller. So it's life. The whole idea is to make life easier, but also being more precise of the energy which you are transporting. So that is the goal, and that is actually what I want to learn from you, what you need. Obviously, is a lower price. That is obvious. But how can we do it simpler? How can we do it more effective? A small side step, we took the same philosophy for liquid hydrogen. As we speak, they are installing now in the Netherlands the first liquid hydrogen Visser. It's the same principle. The challenge is a little bit harder. The temperature is minus, 258 degrees Celsius. So there's a lot of stress on the materials. But together with andProducts, we crack that nut. We solve it together. And hopefully the first results will be reported soon. The challenge there is also hydrogen is a pure component. So why do you want to measure it? But over there we want to measure the impurities because it's used for fuel cells, and here we want to look at the CO because the CO is poison for the catalyst. So, conclude me to my last slide. We heard already from others that there is a growing demand, and as a manufacturer, obviously, I'm glad to hear that. What I see also is decentralization with all the biogas, the biomethane, and it reminds me that we did a project with Dow in the past that they want to measure at the point of use. And that reminds me now also that you are producing at the point where you want to use the energy as well, because it saves you a lot of transport. You make it more efficient. So the smaller you can make the distribution chain, the more effective it will be. However, if you want to measure as well, or if you have to measure, we have to come up with another solution. That is what I want to learn from you today, what you need. So the open question, do we have to measure? And if so, which standards do we have to follow? Last night I had a nice discussion with one of the guys who has written the standard for biomethane for the automotive industry. And there was quite some politics involved. That you had to measure dust. Where does dust come from in bio-LNG? And how do you measure it? And questions like that. So actually I want to scrape the standards and go to the bare minimum, and what do we really need and how are we going to check it. So once again, thank you very much for giving this the opportunity to present here, and I'm more than willing to answer any questions if there are questions left, but I guess I do so. Want to use this one?
You can answer that in case there's any questions. Does anyone have any questions specifically? None. Pavel, you? Yeah.
Go. I have to follow it.
I wrote a couple down. They're a little bit general, but feel free to answer or not. I read in your bio that, of course, part of your work was looking at the challenges of measurement.
Yes.
So therefore, you're familiar with challenges. And based on what you've heard here today so far, specifically looking at connecting small, micro, macro LNG, what would you foresee would be the challenges that we would face in having to go that next step? Were there any thoughts that you had, or even advice?
Yes, I think you have to create a need, or the pain is not high enough. Yeah. Actually, one of the titles I had in mind, crisis is good. It is not a pleasure if you are in it, but a crisis generate action.
Yeah.
You have to generate something. And don't misunderstand me.
Yeah.
I don't like a war. That is 100%. But look at Germany, for instance. You are debating here for decades about LNG. Now somebody shut the pipeline, and you have to. And you see in how many time you exceed to have the first FSRU here in Wilhelmshaven, and start pumping natural gas to your grid. So there must be an urge to change. That I think that is human behavior. And I think to make it easy, that is also, and I love the idea what I see with the container, the milkman approach. You make it easy for people. And that is in Holland we are gifted, we are spoiled actually. We open a valve and natural gas is coming there, and we are so lucky because it's constant over the last decades. But it's not normal in every European country. So we are spoiled and we are not really the benchmark. But if you go to larger companies, especially in Europe, where the infrastructure is not there, I really think that small-scale LNG, either producing locally or with the milkman approach, has a great future. So there is a lot of marketing has to be done there. But hey, Roma isn't built in one day. So
yeah, very true. Great. I think he's formulated his question. Can I take that?
yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. Let me be a bit provocative.
Yes.
From the business side, if we are talking about micro nanoscale, micro nano bulks, what are we talking about being precise, savings?
Yeah, that's a
From the business perspective, I know the customer is dependent on me, so I've got a power. Yeah. So why should I care about this kind of measuring and being precise? Of course, I put this moral aspects by side.
It's a good question. I was running the MAT there as well, and I thought to myself, why in the heck are you measuring? Because first of all, it's biomethane, so it's fairly constant. The only thing is legislation; it forces you to measure. So, and that is one of the things. Obviously, I want to learn here. So the smaller it becomes, the more challenging for us as a manufacturer it becomes as well. Having said that, one of the a little sidestep, but it has to do with energy as well. In the US, we have a US based company, and one of our goals is there to have a measurement where we measure the composition of shale gas. And people were forced; they have measuring streams. They measure only the flow, and once per quarter, the midstreamer, so the guy who's buying the shale gas, is giving them a fixed value for calorific value, so that this butcher as your own meat. So we came up with an R&D program within our company that we are measuring an optical device, maybe not as good as a gas chromatograph, but good enough to measure every 10 seconds or every 20 seconds. That's completely different than measuring every 3 months. So only the difference in day and night will have effect on the calorific value. Then the next step is should we offer it as a product or as a service over the cloud. So that are other ways we are thinking that we want to offer this kind of solutions to users, that you don't have to do the investment, but you're paying a fee. That's the same what you do with your internet, and the industry or society is getting ready for it, is start to adopt it. So that are thoughts which we are having. Another thing is, if you have a changing composition and you use it for your household, for instance, for your central heater, it is nice when it is constant. Because we are talking here about the environment, we want to have an optimal burning process. If you have a change in composition and your CO2 content is changing continuously, is also no advice for the environment. So that's where we also looking as a company. You know, for the big scale LNG, it is a no-brainer. For the mid scale also. We're getting more and more in the bio LNG. That sometimes I get the impression that people are getting forced into the measurement. But hey, we are open here and to want to learn. Like I said in my opening, I want to learn about your needs, and I'm not going to say I have a solution right now, but maybe tomorrow or the day after.
Next question. If you have
Thank you very much. Yeah, we heard about how to convince people about LNG, and we heard about environmental risks. So you mentioned that you can save money, but I think more important to convince people is that you save environmental risks, because that's just methane slip. So you get methane into the environment, and everybody is talking about carbon dioxide. We know that methane is
it's much more
worse.
Greenhouse effect.
So I think the most important thing is that you can say, okay, there is a minimum slip, but we can measure it, and then we can tackle it. I think that's the most important thing.
Okay. Yeah, thank you for that. But to a certain extent, I agree with you. On the other hand, some people are making billions. There is now a World Cup soccer going on right now. It's sponsored by LNG. So people are making billions, and sometimes but that is my personal opinion, that money goes over environment. And that is what you see, a change in society, that society is getting sick and tired of it. And the next generation is stepping up and they say, hey, we have to do something for our next generation. And I fully agree with you, but there is a challenge. So thank you very much for your input.
Yeah, I'm back with a question. As I understand, talking about big scale, of course, it's going about money, saving money. Talking about the smaller we are, the less important it is for the bill, singles bill, if we are precise or not. And as I understand you, we are under pressure of rather oppressive top-down, let's say oppressive, top-down regulations that you have to, must, you are forced to measure.
Exactly.
Because, of course, this is the role of the government or decision makers to take care of customers. And this is this oppressive approach. What?
To take care of taxes, that is driven by government. Typically.
Yeah, well, yes. But do you see an opportunity to turn it upside down and to give some incentives?
Actually, thank you for the question, because that's exactly the reason I'm here. I'm looking for an incentive, a driving force, what it brings to you, to an end user, if you if you are measuring or not, But that is actually the question. If you find a force which make it necessary to measure because it brings you something, then it's better than suppressed by a local government. You have to. Because then it's a choice which isn't a choice. So that is actually where we're looking for. What does it bring the end user or a community or a manufacturer like yourself? You're buying the LNG somewhere. You have to pay the bill somewhere, and maybe not with your milkman approach, that with the final end user, hey, it's on volume or it is on energy and everybody believe it, because if you have a difference of 10 cents, okay, I don't know who's going to argue about that. But if there is another driving force, for instance, you have a better combustion or methane slip, we hear here, some things like that, that could be a driving force to speed up.
Asking an engineer now.
Yeah.
Do you see? I know we are just trying to paint a picture about the future, and we've got a problem with the future that it's unknown. But do you see, from your experience in building measurement instruments, to create simple and low-cost solution for micro nanoscale Do you think it's possible?
Yeah.
Because I truly believe that the LNG suppliers, they do not want to, let's say, cheat on customers, and on both sides, everybody would be satisfied. But of course, there's a question, and this is always a question that we are asked from in India or Indonesia. Okay, your solution is nice, but does it make economical sense?
To answer your question, yes, there is a solution, and it is miniaturized sensors, and it has to do. It comes with the chip industry. So with the exponential growth of the chip industry, you see to make better sensors actually, and at a lower cost.
Okay.
So, and that is the tendency you see in our market. You see all kind of sensors, and we have programs as well. We're looking to all those sensors as well. So, the bare sensor, it's relatively low cost. Hey, we're talking maybe 100, 200 euro. But then you have a sensor, and it's meaningless because I have to place it in an hazardous area. I have to protect it. I have to make it suitable for feeding in gas and so on. So what you get is adding and adding and adding. And if you don't watch it, you migrate to something big again. But there is a tendency to go smaller and smaller and smarter. So actually our goal is to the next phase where we have a microphaser that we integrate the sensor into it. So you take away all the infrastructure. And that is, for our industry, where I'm coming from, is already a major step. Typically we have analyzer houses and then we have projects like a couple of million. So we're already reducing that. The challenge for us as a company is now coming from the bottom. Hey, there is nothing. It should cost nothing or virtually nothing to bring value. And I'm looking for the value. Which value can we provide for a reasonable price? And now there is I fully agree. There is a disbalance. But yeah, hey, it's the chicken and the egg story. Eh? You had to start somewhere, and yeah.
And how to convince people?
Yeah, that's a good one.
1 million.
The $1 million question. Yeah. I don't have the gray hairs and persistence. Keep on going and believe in what you're doing, and also be open. Be open to other thoughts, to change, to make it better, and to listen to other people. It's a long way. It's really a long way, unless there is a pain. That's, for instance, now there is a pain, or can be a pain for energy shortage. I'm lucky. I'm living in the Netherlands. We still can open the natural gas valve, but if there isn't, we stop whining and crying, and then we have to do something, and then we have to change. So personally, I don't like that change. Personally, I like to have that there is another benefit which makes people to change, but I'm looking for it, to be honest. That's why I'm here.
Another question?
Yeah.
Yes or no? Okay.
One final question?
No, not from me. No. But thank you very, very much. Very informative, and thank you for your presentation. So
thank you.
Thank you. I think we're still ahead of time, actually, which is must be due to my management skills of this conference, of course. That was a joke, sorry. Of course. So we now come to a coffee break, which is followed immediately, and I guess you need to switch it on if you need to use it. Which is followed then by the premiere of the nanoscale LNG mobile refueling station, and I guess then when we feel it's time, we'll shepherd people across to the other building. That happens, doesn't it, Pavel? Do you want to say anything?
Yes, exactly. So this is the end of the first day of the parliamentary session with presentations with the input for the discussion for tomorrow. At this stage, we will end the streaming and online participation. And we'll have a coffee break. And as soon as we are ready with a presentation of the worldwide first microscale mobile refueling, LNG refueling station, we'll ask you to join us and to go to the other building. To all those that joined us online, I would like to thank you very much. I hope tomorrow we will see with you, and let's say see with you, or let's say see you on the screen. And of course, you're very welcome to ask questions. If you have any questions, just simply ask. This is my let's say, message to online participants. And we know that we have a few from different parts of the region. Frankly speaking, this conference is, let's say, covers 12 time zones. Altogether,
okay.
From India till United States.
Wow.
Yeah,
impressive.
You'll be famous, again. So, okay, but thank you very much, Justin.
Just one practical question. When we go across, will we come back here just so people know? We'll come back again to pick up other things. And is it warm over there, or do we need to take coats?
Well, there will be minus 163 degrees.
Ah, right, with the LNG.
So it will be quite cold.
You brought your gloves and your arms.
You can take coat, but
fine.
It's not very cold.
Yeah, okay, fine, great. Okay, then coffee break, and then we'll gather you to take you over. Great.
And tomorrow we meet, we start registration at
9 until 10.
Yeah. Central European time zone. So Berlin, if you are from far away, you have to look for Berlin time zone.
And first plenary session starts at 10 o'clock.
Exactly.
Great.
So,
wonderful.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
See you soon.